A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. During the previous sessions of Demystify.Disruption, Unplug, Unsettle, Unfold, we discussed gaming tech and entertainment, fintech, auto tech, and health tech. The previous episodes of the E-Series were enlightened by the presence of Mr. Nikhil Kamath, the co-founder of Zerodha, Mr. Gaurav Rastogi, founder of Kuvera, Ms. Vasuta Agarwal, AVP in Mobi, Mr. Sameer Nair, the CEO of Applause Entertainment, amongst many others, where we discussed technology, entertainment, and unicorn masterclasses on cultivating the culture for billion-dollar clubs. I, as Bana Velati, along with my co-host Siddhant Padave, welcome you to this fascinating yet ever-disrupting fifth episode in the series, an insight into the world of marketing technologies, MarTech, in association with Business Standard.
We are delighted to share with you all that this year, Symbiosis Institute of Digital and Telecom Management enters into its 25th year of excellence. SIDTM, a constituent of Symbiosis International University, is the pioneer institute in imparting managerial education in the field of digital, telecom, and IT. SIDTM is dedicated to developing world-class ICT business leaders who can efficiently handle the competitive yet dynamic world of technology and business paradigms with ease and expertise.
SIDTM has successfully been empowering young minds by blending telecom, technology, and management to produce well-disciplined and positively oriented techno managers. The holistic development braces them to cope up with the demands of today's challenges while exploring tomorrow's opportunities. Let us have a glimpse of SIDTM with a short audio visual.
Thank you, team. It's the teacher that makes the difference and not the classroom. Ladies and gentlemen, now we would like to introduce our director, Dr. C.A. Abhijit Chirputkar sir. It is an honor to have Abhijit Chirputkar sir preside over this event, which is his brainchild and a gift to the student body at SIDTM. Sir has completed his master's in business finance from ICAI. Sir is a chartered accountant, and on the technology side, he is a certified information systems auditor from Osaka, USA. With an extensive consulting experience of more than a decade in diverse areas like accounting, taxation, and finance, he also has to his credit a rich teaching experience of more than 18 years. I would now request Abhijit sir to get the ball rolling with the welcome address.
Thank you, Siddhant. Thank you, Asbana. You have started really well. Welcome to this e-series. I'll just give you the background why we started this program for the students. If you go back to the institute's journey, we started almost 25 years back, 1996, and over a period of time, we are in the niche domain. The DNA of the institute is obviously the technology management, and we try to push technology business leaders in the market. Being in the niche domain, we never faced the issue of any placements. So placements are really good. Over a period of the last 25 years, almost 100% placement we achieved. We are in the top business school all over India. We are in top 50, top 25 business schools. So in terms of ranking, in terms of quality of academics, research, publications, and placements, we are doing extremely well. Last year, I was just thinking on certain aspects of the institutes. And then I found that obviously I belong to finance domain, not from the other domains, but in finance, the technology has affected a lot. So while discussing with Kruti ma'am, who heads e-sale, I told her that we have a finance as a minor specialization. So why don't we introduce some technologies in finance and let the students aware of that? As we are aware that we have got a few commerce students in our batch. Similarly, we also have some kind of technology students who are interested in the finance domain. Now, what happens in the entire process is that if the students are not aware of the technology part, then it will affect the way they conduct the business in the future or join the industry. I still remember the use of drones, use of blockchain, use of some other technology, like for example, robotics in the accounting process that has a lot of impact on the entire the finance domain. Now, when I was just searching, like, does it have like all these technologies, how does it impact the other areas of our domains? Now, we have got three specializations: systems and finance, marketing and finance, and analytics and finance. Obviously, systems and finance, we have introduced almost all the technologies. We have got labs for that, and students are undergoing that training. When I refer to analytics and finance, obviously, they are also aware of certain technologies, and they use technology plus business analytics tools to solve the business solutions. I was further searching, like, do we have some technologies in marketing domain, and how do they impact overall marketing area? Now, when I'm thinking in the sense of that the students should be aware of the technologies in marketing, we should not restrict ourselves only for the knowledge or awareness of those technologies and the domain. We should think of, like, in next 5 years, 10 years, SIDTM students, and obviously there will be alumni after 5 years, 10 years, they should venture into different type of technology businesses, because the government of India is also pushing heavily in terms of technology businesses, and we have various technology hubs where these businesses are started. So I came across this concept, and I just was talking to Drupti ma'am, like, why don't we start the Unicom masterclass? Because I wish that at least a few students of SIDTM should enter into that Unicom club. They should become, their business valuation should become millions and billions down the line. Obviously, we have alumni who are into this entrepreneurship part. They are also doing extremely well. But unless we inculcate that culture among the students, and they are not passionate enough so that their business becomes one of the best in the India, I think then we are not doing fairly well in the institute. So when a few things are very well settled in India, in SIDTM, sorry, a few things we should concentrate now in the years to come, and out of which entrepreneurship is the most important focused area for us. In fact, I would like few students opt out from placements on their own and think of entrepreneurship part while they are on the campus, so we can provide the entire ecosystem. Symbiosis has got its own e-sale. and they have got their own infrastructure support for those who really want to venture into entrepreneurship while you are on the campus. So that's how the culture will be in the years to come. But again, coming back to this part, we have got almost 60 students in marketing and finance. So if they wish to start, obviously this idea is open to all students, not for marketing. But if there are a few students who would really like to start on their own, then MarTech is going to be a key area. And I think students must be aware of this domain and must think that how they can start some kind of ventures in this area. Considering the years to come, technology, we cannot shy away from the technology. So technology impacting different domains, and the students should be aware of them while they are on the campus. With this background, I think I can hand it over to the ECL committee. But before I close my talk, I think I would like to thank ECL, because I think it's a wonderful series. Maybe it may be on online mode. It's a wonderful series, and thanks to them, because it was a yearly program. It was almost packed for 1 year. We thought of 6 programs in a year, once in 2 months, and we have done it very well. And we have introduced to the students different technology domains in the entrepreneurship part. So thanks to ECL, thanks to Dr. Trupti ma'am, who took up this idea from me, and a good association with Business Standard. So thanks to Business Standard also. So ECL, Trupti ma'am, Business Standard, thanks to Azbana and Siddhant, you have started really well. How do you start? It's very important, a very good start. Again, thanks to the industry experts, Rajesh Jain, Sohil Karia, Ankur Gattani, then we have Shrey Mishra and Sumit Verma. So thanks to all of them. We would like to listen to all these industry experts so that we are at par with the industry expectations as far as this MarTech is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those very kind and warm words, sir. In this era of digital disruption, marketing must evolve to harness the power of data, automation, and analytics. Changing consumer trends, volatile market landscapes, and constantly evolving technical networks have pushed organizations to be more agile and overcome obstacles that would otherwise have forced businesses to become obsolete.
We have amongst us a dignitary who has played a significant role in reshaping India's technical landscape. Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in welcoming Mr. Rajesh Jain, founder and managing director, NetCoreCloud. Mr. Jain is a tech entrepreneur based in Mumbai. He was a pioneer in Asia's .com revolution, creating India World, India's first internet portal in the late 90s. He then started NetCore, which is Asia's largest marketing technology and customer experience company. He is also a well-renowned blogger and blogs daily at rajeshjain.com.
We also have with us Dr. Tripti Dhote ma'am, Assistant Professor Marketing, Head of Corporate Communications, and in charge of the Entrepreneurship Cell. We welcome you, ma'am. Since we're all here and geared up and eager to learn from the very delightful and exceptional panel that is present here today, it's time we get this session started. I'd like to request Tripti ma'am to initiate the discussion with our speaker, Mr. Jain.
Yeah, thank you so much, Azbana and Siddhant, for that wonderful and breezy start to the event. A very warm good morning, all of you, all my students here, and a hearty welcome to this concluding episode of the ambitious Virtual Entrepreneurship Series, Demystify.Disruption, hosted by Entrepreneurship Cell of SIDTM, which unfolded in April 2021. As Director Sir also mentioned, the aim has been to encourage a startup culture and sow entrepreneurial seeds among students and discover possible potential of incubating a unicorn within campuses. So since April 2021, we have witnessed an array of illustrious entrepreneurs and influencers. Today, our journey will meet its final destination with MarTech, and we'll try to reimagine marketing in the technology space. And it is such a proud privilege to have you with us, Mr. Rajesh Jain, founder and MD NetCoreCloud. Warm greetings and a very hearty welcome, sir. So technology, as we all are aware today, is all pervasive. It has impacted almost every single sphere, and the marketing space is no different. So especially being a marketing faculty and a researcher myself, I'm keenly looking forward to listen to you, to hear you today, sir, and learn how these technologies can help to kind of connect the dots between marketing, customers, platforms, and also the operational efforts, and how one can win with MarTech. A very, very hearty welcome once again, Mr. Rajesh Jain. The stage is all yours.
Thank you very much, Tripti ma'am. Thank you very much, all of you all, for inviting me to Symbiosis' session. What I'll do in the next about maybe 20 minutes or so, that will leave us some time for a Q&A, is to give you a sort of whirlwind tour into the world of MarTech. And whatever you all go out and do, whether it's in finance, whether it's in marketing, whether it's joining a large company, whether it's becoming an entrepreneur or becoming part of a startup, you'll find that the two common things which every business needs are marketing and product innovation. So they are the two pillars, and today we'll discuss one of the two pillars, marketing, and really how technology is helping transform the world of marketing. So it's a whirlwind tour, and in the next 20 odd minutes. And of course, if you need a copy of the presentation, you can just email me. I'll have the details at the end. And a lot of these ideas are also what I've covered in my writings on my blog. I'll share the details again at the end. And we'll have time for Q&A. So if you have any thoughts, just note them down, and we'll try and take up in the 10-15 minutes we'll have at the end. Okay, so let's get going. It's going to be a rapid journey in the next few minutes. So winning in the coming MarTech era, and it's about how businesses can drive exponential, forever profitable growth. At the end of the day, what we are all looking for when you go out in the world, when you're serving customers, is enriching the lives of customers. A lot of the ideas today cover exactly that. So this is the ideal flywheel that you would like to do in any business: attract the best customers, maximize their spend, keep them forever, get their family and friends, get this flywheel going. If only life was that simple, we all would be living happily ever after. But of course, there is trouble in paradise. And that's because of the attention span that customers have. It's less than that of a goldfish. Goldfish, they say, has 9 seconds. Humans are now down to 8 seconds. And you see it in the inbox, you see it with your WhatsApp messages, etc. Also, you see these unreads, which are typically there in your inboxes. The problem, what I call attention recession. And this is, I think, one of the most important issues that you are going to face when you go out there with your business or in the sphere of marketing. While everyone focuses on transactions, I think what is not discussed much is really the upstream of transactions: attention, engagement, habit creation, creating hooked customers, creating subscribers, because it's all of those things that lead to the actual transactions happening. So a lot of MarTech really is about the focus on attention. So we spoke about attention recession. Now what happens if there is attention recession, if your end customers are not paying attention? And it happens in the B2B world or in the B2C world. We end up with retention recession. Customers can basically churn. You get a problem of continuous churn. And what that results in is large spending on ad tech. So ad tech is really about new customer acquisition. It's a spend that you typically do on Google, Facebook, etc. And that leaves a very small budget for MarTech. MarTech is about customer retention, customer growth, customer cross-sell. And that is, they're all about your existing customers. And the problem in the world of ad tech, as you will find out, is that the ad costs are rising rapidly. Increasingly, brands tend to acquire less valuable customers. There's the challenge of third-party cookies, which is coming the death. Google's doing away with that. Apple's privacy framework, especially in developed markets, is a big issue. And of course, the problem of reacquisition, because brands don't take adequate care of their existing customers. The problem we have is that customers churn after being acquired. And then brands spend money on reacquiring them. So 1/3 of all new acquisition is actually reacquisition of churned customers. And this is a big, big waste. This is what I call the doom loop of ad spending. The biggest beneficiaries, of course, are Google and Facebook. You see it in their skyrocketing growth over the last 10 to 15 years. They built an amazing duopoly, both companies worth now in the trillions. So essentially, the way I look at it is brands are getting gooped instead of customers getting hooked. And that is the problem that MarTech really needs to address. What we need to do is to step away from the world of AdTech into the world of MarTech. So the 3 R's of MarTech are about retention, reactivation as an alternative to reacquisition. So if customers will become dormant, how can you reactivate them? And driving customer referrals. Referrals is about zero cost of new customer acquisition. So can you get your best customers going out and getting their friends and family members? So the other 3 R's of MarTech. Another way to look at this is how do we convert delete to delight? The messages in the inbox that customers sort of delete, how do you make them delightful? The momentary to memorable experiences and the connection that is there, how do you get them to do transactions, the conversion that's so important. So MarTech done right is one of the biggest engines for growth in any business. It gets you more zero and first party data. Zero party data is where customers give their information voluntarily, telling you more about themselves. It helps drive omni-channel personalization. We'll discuss that a little bit later. It creates hooked customers and subscribers. Subscribers are customers who continue to spend on a repeating basis. That's the ideal world. And that is really what drives exponential forever profitable growth. So this is what I think of as the MarTech success map. How do we solve the problem of attention recession with the 3 R's, retention, reactivation, referrals. So there are 3 strategic shifts, there are 4 tactical tracks, and there are 3 magic metrics. So because we have limited time today, I'll cover a few of these points. I won't be able to cover all of them, but many of these themes are discussed, of course, on my blog. So let's start with the strategic shifts. I'll take up 2 of them. The first very important idea is around velvet rope marketing. Now, effectively, we always told that you've got to take care of every customer is very important and so on. But the reality which we will find is that that's not the case. So 2 themes that I'll cover, CLV, which is customer lifetime value, and BCG, best customer genome. The power law of marketing is something you must never forget. 20% customers, and pretty much in any business, will give you 60% revenue. 60 can be 70, 80, whatever, but it's that large chunk. And more importantly, it drives 200% of profits. Okay, so this is that Whale curve from a book called Driving Digital Strategy by Sunil Gupta, where it's the top 20% customers who deliver nearly 200% of profits. And then if you factor in acquisition costs, servicing costs, a lot of the longer tail actually takes away from the profits that you have. So taking care of your best customers becomes very important. A small increase in revenue, a 20% increase can deliver a 68% jump in profits for your business. And there are 3 dimensions on which you should be looking at creating differentiated experiences for your best customers. And all you've got to do is to think of yourself as a customer. Where are you a best customer of? And are those brands differentiating your experiences versus everyone else? In most cases, you will find the answer is no. And that's a tremendous opportunity when you do your own business. So exclusivity, ease, and access are 3 dimensions on which we can create differentiated experiences. For example, for your best customers, can they cancel tickets or orders without loss? Can they get a preferential treatment in customer service? They're first in line always, especially if they call, there is no wait time for that. Can they get an earlier opportunity to buy tickets for upcoming events? So a lot of these ideas you can think about on exclusivity, ease, and access. The best customer genome is about taking all the attributes of your best customers, the top 20%, not everyone, just the best customers. That becomes your ideal customer profile. That's the profile that you want everyone else to essentially replicate. So you want to replicate the best customer's journey, the next best action from what your best customers have done, acquire new customers who are like the best, those top 20%. And if you can identify new customers who are coming on board, if you know that they have characteristics like your best customers, then can you give them an accelerated onboarding? For the first order, can you give them faster delivery? So you get that whole customer delight experience. So CLV, the customer lifetime value calculated right. There are many ways to do it wrong. If you need a reference, Peter Fader from Wharton, he has written 2 excellent books. There's a lot of work that he has done on customer lifetime value. Another very important point is really on the MarTech stack. Okay, you're going to come across this very often when you go into companies. So you need the full 360-degree view of the customer because customers are interacting through multiple different channels. Again, when I say customer, look at your own experience as a customer. We are all customers of tens of brands. They're interacting across many different channels. But what marketers are doing is today they have been building up their MarTech stack with point solutions. But the problem is that data gets siloed. The unified view of the customer is missing. The cost to integrate across all these point solutions becomes high. The omni-channel journeys break. AI/ML becomes very hard to do, and personalization therefore becomes hard. So instead of looking at taller trees, better trees, the point solutions, you need the ecology of a forest. You need mechanisms where the trees actually talk to each other. So you don't need just a collection of stacks, but you need a unified, complete stack. Communications, engagement, product experience with the CDP coming in all together. So this is what NetCore has done. It's one of the unique companies who has really built the full stack natively on its own. So CDP, analytics, engagement, and everything else, including the communication channels. And then there is the AI engine, and you have APIs to integrate with others. We've also done some investments in a few companies essentially to help create the wider ecosystem. But the key is the full stack is really the way to go, the full MarTech stack, because that provides the unified customer view. Then example, the CDP is another word which you will hear very often, customer data platform. So you get the single view of customer across all the channels that they are interacting with, offline data, online data, demographic data, transaction data, behavioral data, all of it comes together. And that really helps drive the personalization that you go forward with. Again, this is an example of the type of data today that's available because we can track and collect pretty much everything about a customer. This becomes very valuable as you go forward. Among the tactical tracks, I'm going to cover 2 of them, the last 2, atomic rewards and powerful digital experiences. So atomic rewards is a very interesting idea. It's a new idea like VRM that I spoke about earlier. A lot of people, a lot of brands incentivize transactions. Okay, so you get all this buy one, get one free, etc. All these kinds of things are there. But what's interesting is everyone's focused on money. Everyone's focused on driving the transactions. Very little focus has been given on time, attention, engagement, habits. That's where this whole idea of moments comes in. Who does this very well? Games. This is a scene from Clash of Clans. And I would very strongly recommend that each one of you should get a game which you should play for a long period of time. There's an incredible amount to learn from the world of gaming. The way they get you back every day for a few minutes, okay? The way they essentially drive your behavior. Gamification works for kids and adults alike. And that's the same idea that I'm applying here. This idea of atomic habits. In the linked with that is this theme of atomic rewards. So micro incentives for micro moments to achieve great outcomes. Very simple theme to get customers to pay attention, pay them for their attention. Otherwise, you end up paying Google and Facebook 100 times more to get them back. So atomic rewards have great value, especially for an email program. They drive more opens, clicks, better outcomes, because otherwise in emails, you will find 10% emails are open, but 90 are not opened. That's a great inefficiency to work on solving. This is a simple example that you can actually reward an open. So if an email is opened, you give, in this case, it's 1 mu, you give them instant feedback at the bottom of the mail. You can apply it in on the website, on the app, so the owned properties, you can apply it in the physical world. So imagine this, if Kindle can basically give you 5 mu, 5 points for actually reading their sample. Because then the probability of you buying the book goes up dramatically. So instead of an ad like that, like Netflix is one on the left, it gives you 10 mu for basically watching the trailer. Instead of just getting an email like this, maybe you get 15 mu for actually clicking on the link. So these small nudges really go a long way in driving behaviors. Finally, powerful digital experiences. And this is where we'll also cover about the power of AI. So omni-channel personalization is very, very important because your customers are omni-channel. They want to have consistent content-driven experiences everywhere. So AI is very, very important in all of this. Also, you're seeing the rise now of no-code platforms. And we'll discuss that in a minute. So what you want to be able to do is to delight shoppers with recommendations at every touch point of their buying journey. And there are multiple. Again, look back at your own experience. Where are those experiences personalized for you? And does that help you drive better, that help you buy more? So product page or the boutique page, the notifications are there, the emails are there. All of these can be personalized. So you can create personalized boutiques if you're running an apparel website. You can now have Tinder or Instagram-like UX right on the website or in the app. You see that on the left, the Instagram-like look. You can have the swipe experience on the right inside of an app, swipe to like or dislike. And every action is basically telling you what customers are liking. Sorry. Product recommendations and emails become very, very important. Email is one of the best push channels, along with push notifications, SMS, and now increasingly WhatsApp. This can drive click-through rates higher by 18 to 20%. You can have product recommendations and push notifications. So every touch point help drive personalization. We have done this for Crocs, across all the touch points that are there, email, the boutique, the product listing and display page, and it drove 21% higher revenue through NetCore's platforms. AI is very, very important. So for predictions and insights, the 4 R's: right message to right person, at right time, on the right channel. How do you drive that? So in NetCore, we've built an AI engine called Raman, essentially to help drive retention and revenue. It's a lot of interesting things which can be done with AI. It can give insights on why, and I'll show you an example. Predictive segments, telling you what action you need to take on which segment. Users expected to churn or make a purchase. So a lot of this now becomes possible with the data that's available, and you need smart AI models to basically make this thing happen. So in Raman, we have this idea of predictive segments, likely to purchase or open, click, email, or notification. So very, very powerful, so you don't have to waste your campaign money. You can basically do a very targeted campaigns on what Raman is recommending. Raman's churn prediction, very important, because when a person churns, you're losing out. You've spent money on acquisition of that person. So the auto-predicted segments essentially help tell you which ones users are likely to churn, and therefore you can take corrective action before they actually churn. Raman Insights is again something very interesting. It tells you what happened yesterday. Okay, so if you've seen a revenue drop or you saw some specific action, it will actually surmise for you what happened yesterday. Okay, so so look through, sift through all of the data and give you possible 4 or 5 recommendations on where to start digging deeper, rather than having this entire vast array of data and you don't even know where to begin. So Raman Insights helping you to understand the why. Another very interesting tech that we've come up, we got this through an acquisition which we did a year ago, are nudges and contextual walkthroughs. So nudges leverage behavioral economics. You see these examples on the web. Small nudges in terms of the food that you eat, or take the steps instead of the escalator where you put the garbage. The same basic idea can be applied inside of apps. So there's an example that we did for Airtel, and it drove up their recharges. So basically, the problem statement was that for prepaid users, how do I ensure that they recharge on the Airtel app itself rather than going somewhere else? So we help guide them when they come in a few days before their pack is supposed to expire, and then it helps drive them essentially exactly to the behavior that the product manager wants. Finally, what are the metrics? These are again very interesting metrics to look at. You want to measure, of course, everything that you do, otherwise you can't improve. So reacquisition ratio, how do you look at how many customers are being reacquired to the total acquisitions? You want to keep this as low as possible. A hook score for email, so engagement to measure email. And the last one, earned growth rate. There's a very good Harvard Business Review article in the November-December issue, which talks about how do you measure earned growth rate as an alternative to spending on paid. So basically based on word of mouth and referrals, which are there. So these are what I call MarTech magic metrics, 3 of them to basically help you track enhancements. So the outcome, if you do this right, I think you can create an awesome flywheel, really from attention, engagement, habits, transactions, referrals, and that's the flywheel in the business, which will really drive you to creating what I call a profits monopoly, a profit-poly. A profit-poly is the ultimate moat that you can have in a business where you maximize the profits in industry. You starve your competition from growth because they can't make profits. So you want to be able to get those best customers and keep them forever and then get their friends and family. And that lays the foundation for exponential, forever profitable growth. All of these books, by the way, are all good reading. To summarize, so the real digital transformation, when you go out into the real world after your education, is to look not just at AdTech to MarTech, but also MarTech 1 to MarTech 2. So a lot of what we've spoken about are the new ideas, the cutting edge ideas in MarTech. Okay, so MarTech generally is about acquisition, retention, growth, and cross-sell. And even in there, what are the enhancements that you can do? So focus on referrals, focus on reactivation, focus on best customers, focus on conversations. You know, the push channels are becoming now two-way channels. Focus on a customer data platform. Use the power of AI and machine learning to do predictions, and balance your budget so that it's not skewed 90-10, but more like 50-50 towards between AdTech and MarTech. So that's pretty much what I had. We'll get to Q&A. Meanwhile, if you want to read up on more on any of the topics that I've discussed, I know it was a whirlwind of a tour in the last 20 odd minutes. I write every day on my blog on themes around entrepreneurship, marketing, and India. For the marketing related essays, you can go to rajeshjain.com/marketing, and you'll find many of these ideas which are covered. I'm very open with my ideas. And of course, if you need to write to me, feel free to write at rajesh@netcorecloud.com. So thank you very much. Tripti ma'am, back to you for Q&A.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. Asbana and Siddhant?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, can we please get going with the Q&A session?
Yes. So we have a first question from Meet Zaveri. I kindly request the students to turn on the cameras and post your questions.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, yes, Meet.
Yeah, sir, it was really insightful, and yeah, it was great to learn about MarTech. So my question would be, like, you were the first entrepreneurs in India to recognize the potential of internet by launching some of your websites on India and World portal, like coach.com, samachar.com. So I would like to learn, like, how does it compare with your view of the MarTech in India today?
Okay, so when I started as an entrepreneur 30 years ago, the user base in India was very small, actually, at that time. So I'd focused a lot of my efforts in late 90s at Indians outside of India, so NRIs. So that's where the sites were directed to, and that's how I got my first success when India World was bought by Sifi. I think what we are seeing now is a massive growth in usage in India. There is spending power available. We have the large platforms have hundreds of millions of users in India. So that, I think, is real opportunity which is there, and it's a opportunity which is not going to go away anytime soon at all. Okay, it's now we are all dreamt of the fact that India becomes a large market, and this is finally happening. There's a lot of capital coming into India, $100 million a day in 2021 into startups. I think in all of this, one key thing to note is that a lot of the money is actually now still getting spent on just new customer acquisition. And that is, I think, a big mistake that brands are making, startups are also making. There is not enough attention being given to customer retention. So because if you have a leaky bucket, you can keep pouring in the money. At some point of time, if the inflow of capital slows down, okay, then you'll have a big problem. So even as you focus on, even as one focuses on new acquisition, I think the importance of MarTech is very critical now, because you have to start thinking of how am I going to retain these customers? How do I create differentiated experiences for them? How do I create those wow moments in their customer journeys? And that is where the ideas which I spoke about today, MarTech, really comes into play. So that's why I call this, the last 15, 20 years were about ad tech, new customer acquisition, all of that stuff. But now it has to be about customer retention and creating a path to profitability. Okay? Because profitability is only going to come from taking care of your existing customers.
Thank you, sir. The next up we have is Sudeep Khawas.
A very good morning, sir.
Morning, Sudeep.
Yes, sir. Thank you for such a great session, today's session. Well, since we know that today NetCore is India's largest MarTech company, so my question is that what is the scope of non-tech background students entering this industry? So like, do they need to prepare something different, or like what do they need to do?
Very good question, Sudeep. See, in any business, okay, you have, there is of course the tech and engineering is one part, but there are a lot of other functions which are there. And especially in the case of NetCore, we are a B2B SaaS company, we sell globally. I think, and you'll find this in many other companies also, there are lots of non-tech opportunities. So whether it is, it's a new, so the whole world of sales and marketing is also getting transformed. So we spoke today about MarTech. But if you actually look at sales tech, how B2B companies, B2B SaaS companies actually sell, idea of account-based marketing, of SDRs, of inbound marketing. How do you use content as a way to attract incoming interest from global customers? All of this also becomes very, very important. The whole process of onboarding customers remotely. I think it's a phenomenal opportunity that is there. So it's not just about tech. Tech is obviously one of the important functions, but in the non-tech, non-engineering space, I think B2B SaaS is really where there are manifold opportunities which are there, and every other function. Each of the other functions is really transforming because of the cloud. And that's the real opportunity which is there for all of y'all also when you all go out into the real world.
Yeah, thank you, sir. That was a great answer.
Thank you, sir. We must say that your presentation has been such a power-packed and relatable insight to all of us. And what a great start to a Sunday morning for all the marketing enthusiasts within us. And on that note, we have a next question from Charisha Shyam Sukha.
Yes, sir. My question was like how NetCore is providing full stack market solutions to Indian and global brands.
Yeah, so Janisha, what we are doing is, if you look at the stack, there are three key aspects that marketers need. First is, I have a customer base. How do I communicate to the customer base? So the push messages are very important. So sending out emails, SMSs, WhatsApps, push notifications, because only through those push messages can I bring people back to my website or app. So that's the first layer that NetCore provides. Second is, how can I automate these messages? So collecting all the data from the website, from the app, how can I create, how can I drive the customer journey? So what is the product I should show you next? Okay, what is the next best action that I would like you to do? So that's where the automation comes in. That's where personalization comes in. So that's the customer engagement piece. And then there is also this product experience part. You know, that those nudges that I showed from the Airtel example. But how can I prod you along in your customer journey? Now, with this, you also have the whole customer data platform, which collects everything else, everything that is there. And then you have the AI engine. So this is the full stack. This is what we actually take to brands and say that, look, you have your customers. So as a brand, as you want to engage, communicate with your customers, we can help you do that. So there are many companies like us which are there. And that's really the future of marketing tech as we go forward. So marketing was always there. What is the difference now in today's world is the fact that you have massive availability of data of your end customers, because pretty much every customer is digital. So the digital, data, and devices, these 3 Ds have really opened up this world of MarTech. And that's where the full stack solution really works a lot better than the point solutions, which are because of the problems I spoke about earlier.
Yes, sir, got it. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Next up, we have Harish Patil.
Siddharth, can you confirm, am I audible?
Yes, Harish, you're audible.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, sir. My question is how companies can adapt MarTech to improve customer engagement and customer retention?
So once we recognize that you want to take care of your existing customers, I think the most important sort of foundation for a marketer's thinking should be omni-channel personalization. Okay. Now, what does that mean? I spoke about this earlier also. Omni-channel basically means that your customer is engaging with you across multiple channels. Okay, so they can be on the store, or they can be online. Online, they can be on the web, they can be on the app. Even WhatsApp now is going to become a very interactive channel where you can actually do transactions. So because the customer is coming at it from multiple channels, what you want to ensure is a seamless continuity of experience. When the person calls up the call center, let's say, your call center must be up to date with the actions done by the customer maybe a few seconds ago on the website or on the app. Okay, so you need to have one. That's why this unified view of the customer becomes very, very important. So that's the omni-channel part of it. The second is the personalization. What you want to be able to do is that each person is different. Each of us is different. Our interests are different. What we browse on the website or the app is different. So how can a brand, basically, or a marketer, use all the data that's available to create a distinctive customer journey, a distinctive experience? What are the products you're going to buy next, most likely to buy next? Because that increases the probability of a transaction. So you may have 10,000 products, but if I can show you those 10 products based on your browsing behavior, which you are most likely to want to buy, that will create the transaction. So omni-channel personalization should be really at the heart of everything that a marketer does. MarTech tools are the enablers to making that happen.
Thank you, sir. It was indeed an enlightening session for us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Harish. And last up, sir, we have Srijit Nair.
Am I audible?
Yes, Srijit.
A very good morning, sir. My question for you is, as an entrepreneur, how important is it to understand when to relinquish control and to delegate the important decision making to others?
A very good point, and I've written a lot on entrepreneurship and this theme. You go to rajeshjain.com/proficon, or of course you'll find the links on my left side. I've covered this, but to answer in brief, I think basically as the business starts growing, okay, you will realize that you can't handle everything. It's a decision which is automatically sort of forced on you. Okay, because if you become too central to the company, then decisions will start getting slowed down. So in the early stages of a company, it's very important that the entrepreneur is the driver. But as growth happens, okay, you need to start letting go, because, for example, if you want to raise capital, you will realize that half your time is going to be spent meeting with potential investors. At the same time, the business still keeps to be running. So you will need to automatically start delegating to the next set of hires or next set of people who are there who can keep the business running. Okay, because you will need to do both. So It's something which you will get a sense of once you realize that you are becoming the bottleneck for decisions, that the space of decision is slowing down. It's a signal to you that you need to make fewer decisions and empower the next level leadership team. Okay, because only then does the business start growing. So delegation is something you will have to learn and do it at the right time. But it's a very critical part of sort of the growing up process for an entrepreneur.
Thank you, sir, for sharing such an interesting insight with us.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Those were some very fascinating questions. And on that note, we come to an end with this session with Mr. Rajesh Jain.
Thank you very much.
So thank you so much for sharing your valuable time and experience with us. We are confident that the students have had a lot of value to take away from this session.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Jain. Thanks for all your time and the wonderful insights that you shared with us today. Great learning. Yeah.
Thanks, Shruti, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
For all the students, please stay tuned as we will shortly begin with session 2 on Virtual E-Series MarTech, Demystify.Disruption, Unplug, Unsettle, Unfold in association with Business. A very good morning and welcome back to the second session of the 5th episode of E-Series, MarTech, in association with Business Standard, where we focus on reimagining marketing in the technology space. With advancing technology penetrating deep into every field, marketing has not been left behind. The marketing industry today is abuzz with various high-tech prospects that are up and coming. 2021 has been a drastic shift in how businesses invest in MarTech, mainly as it concerns emerging initiatives driving the strategies of modern marketing terms.
These days, people want to learn before they buy and be educated instead of pitched. Marketing has evolved over time and is even more dynamic in nature now. The ongoing pandemic most definitely gave it the nudge to evolve and expand its boundaries. Look where we are today, miles apart, yet virtually connected. And maybe that's just the tip of the tech berg we see.
No doubt about that. We now don't just use technology, we live it. Just experience the change around us. The world as we knew it has changed, and businesses have followed suit. The growing usage of smartphones has given rise to an era where convenience has taken precedence. Do you want to hail a cab? You have an app. Looking for a doctor? There's an application for that too. Technology has seeped deeper into our lives than what meets the eye, but it has also opened the door to avenues not known before.
On that note, Siddhant, shouldn't we introduce the stalwarts who have made their mark in the tech world?
We absolutely must.
So the first luminary we have with us is Mr. Sohil Karya. He is the co-founder and chief design and technology officer at Shebang. He began his career at a very young age of 18 with the then startup Foxy Moron. With over 10 years of experience in digital branding, UI and UX, he's currently bridging the gap between tech and business needs to help clients and organizations build better customer experiences through the use of applied sciences. He has been working with Tata Communications, Noble Hygiene, Nivea India, Crompton, and various big businesses to help them transform their operations with the aid of technology. From CRM to ERP implementation, from SEO and content to website, mobile, and app development. He's done it all.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me. Also, I'm not a stalwart yet. Thank you.
Thank you for being here with us, sir. Next with us, we have Mr. Ankur Ghatani, VP Growth and Marketing, WebEngage. Ankur sir is an alumnus of IIT Bombay and IIM Kolkata. He presently leads growth and marketing for WebEngage, a software as a service company helping large consumer brands manage their customer engagement and retention. He started his professional journey as an entrepreneur, opting out of campus placements to launch a social media company, and then had stints with MapMyIndia, Rocket Internet, Food Panda Berlin, before launching a startup to spice up the beverage options available in India. COVID affected the business, so he's back to the internet space, eager to learn new things and use it all that he knows across product management, product marketing, analytics, technology, and retention management.
Hi, everyone.
Good morning, sir. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Good morning.
This lineup just keeps getting better. Next up, we have Mr. Shrey Mishra, the co-founder of XR Central. XR Central is an interactive technology studio focused on solving statements using AR, VR, and XR technologies across industry verticals. He is also the founder of Gaming Central, a video game and entertainment website. With humble beginnings in 2013, Gaming Central today stands as India's most popular social gaming community.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thanks for inviting.
Hello, sir. We looking forward to this. Now, to moderate this conversation today, we have one of our brightest minds, an alum of SIDTM, Mr. Sumit Verma, who presently is the principal search specialist at Google. Sumit sir is a marketing professional with over 10 years of extensive domestic and global experience in digital marketing, with all-encompassing exposure across a gamut of areas, including strategy, operations, project management, marketing, customer relationship management, and analytics. The list goes on. Welcome home, sir.
Hey, thanks. Thanks everyone. Thanks, Siddhant. And it's lovely to be, I would say, with my college. I mean, even though it's like virtual, one could only imagine how awesome it would have been to kind of like just going back to college to the lovely campus. But it is very good to see everyone. Thank you to all the people participating. Thank you to all the students, like, who've gotten up early on a Sunday to kind of join us through the session. Very warm welcome to everyone.
Thank you so much for being with us, dear panelists. We also have with us Dr. Tripti Dhote ma'am, Assistant Professor Marketing, Head of Corporate Communications, and in charge of the Entrepreneurship Cell. Welcome, ma'am. Yeah. Since we're all geared up and eager to learn from the very delightful and exceptional panel that is present here today, it's time to get this session started. I'd like to request Tripti ma'am to initiate the discussion and invite our moderator, Mr. Sumit Verma, to please commence the same.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Asbana and Siddhant, yet again, and good morning to the wonderful panel of experts that we have today on board. And really excited to have you all. And yeah, and today I'm more in the role of a student, and we all are highly curious to learn from your journey and from your experiences. And we've been listening to it this morning that how MarTech has completely kind of engulfed the entire space, the marketing space, and how technology is all pervasive. So MarTech is kind of the buzzword today. And I think it is the in thing, which somebody just mentioned. And if you do not have your tools and stack ready and are not adept with technology, you're likely to be out of the game, is what it looks like. So hi, Ankur. It's really amazing to see how WebEngage has been creating the immersive multi-channel engagement strategy for users, how you've been leveraging a variety of channels of their choice, from email, SMS marketing, to, I guess, web personalization and even in-app notification. So welcome to the Talkverse.
Thank you.
And yeah, I'm a great follower of Shebang, and I'm really enamored by its holistic marketing solution. How you guys are really working towards getting this entire integrated marketing communication under one roof. And in fact, Sohail, I would be really happy to share with you here that Berog Zindagi, the one which you've done with Priyanka Chopra and Cipla for asthma, is one case study which I always discuss in my brand consumer sessions. And Sohail, a very warm welcome.
Thank you so much. I will let the team know as well.
Yeah. So happy to have you on board. And
thank you for having me.
Yeah, and when it comes to solving real life business problems with say gamification, which again is very much trending, with gamification or with AR, VR, IoT, mobile apps, voice and much more. So I think XR Central is the pioneer, and we are so delighted to welcome you on board, Shreya Mishra. Hi, Shreya.
Yeah, thank you so much. Incidentally, I've been to your campus once years back. I think one of the alumni just asked me. I was in Pune, and it's a great campus, and it was good fun to be at your campus.
Okay, yeah. I hope that after this entire group is over, we are able to invite you all of them.
Sure.
And what do I say about Sumit Verma? He's a part of our SIDTM family, proud alum. 2008-10 batch. It's Sumit, it's like homecoming, like you mentioned, for him, though virtually. So thank you, Sumit, for, despite your schedule, to agree and be a part of this Talkverse, and welcome home. And I leave the stage for you to take the Talkverse forward.
Yeah, always happy to be a part of the college. And as I said, like I think like had this done on campus would have been like awesome. But I really hope that everyone is doing well. Everyone is taking care of their health through these testing times. And it's a privilege and a great opportunity to just be a part of it. I would like to say I'm here as much as a student to just hear from Sohail, Ankur, and Shrey on their entrepreneurship and MarTech journey. So pardon me if any of the questions or discussion points seem like some of them might only be meant for me, right? So with that and keeping the time in mind and everyone's schedule, let's just start the discussion. We will take the next 40, 50, 45, 50 minutes to just go through the panelists' thoughts on MarTech as an industry, and then probably use the last 5, 10, 15 minutes to go through the questions, right? So again, like welcome everyone. And we would want to start with something very general, right? So it'll be great if the panel can probably tell us something about their entrepreneurial journey, given that given that everyone is in the marketing technology industry, which may be a buzzword today, but probably wasn't when all of you kind of started your journey. So would love to kind of hear from you, how did this spark of starting your organization or growing a business in this space came to kind of fruition?
Sure. I mean, I can go first if that's fine. So a little bit about the entrepreneurial journey, or rather what sparked us to start Shebang was that when we started Shebang, we were not new to the industry. Me, my co-founders or my partners, we were also previously one of my partners, Harshil Kare, he was one of the founders at Foxy Moron. And my other partner and me, we were employees at Foxy Moron. So we were not new to the industry. Coincidentally, we sort of, when we started Shebang, we knew that there was one problem to solve, that businesses wanted, or organizations wanted, to work with agencies that could actually deliver the complete solution under one roof. They, as sort of marketing or marketing through technology, as these channels started evolving, it became more of a pain point for them to have a separate digital agency, have a separate SEO agency, have a separate media agency, and getting all these different agencies to talk to each other and actually cook up something. So it's sort of becoming too many cooks in sort of one brand, and all of them are fighting for their own space, or sort of blaming the game on someone or the other. So when we started Shebang, we started with the pretext that, hey, you know what, we've got to because each one of us had our own expertise, we started with saying, hey, you know what, we got to build one organization that can actually be a one-stop shop solution for everything digital. So that's the mindset that we went with. One of the things that we did as we went along this journey is that we kept talking about the kind of work that we do. And that's some of the things that today I would entrepreneurs don't do enough. The smallest of wins, the smallest of how do you say, the smallest of celebrations that you'd have in the team, you start celebrating it publicly, and you start sort of telling people, hey, you know, look, other people are also enjoying what you're talking about. So that's how we went about talking about the work that we did. That actually attracted a lot of sort of looking at clients saying, you know, these guys are doing this kind of work. So that was one. Two was it also helped attract a lot of talent while we were building the organization. And from a point of view, I think one of our larger focuses was always being, we want to be drivers of impact. We want to sort of, when we're working with a particular brand, we want to ensure that they are better than what they were doing last year. That's the only reason they'll stay with you, right? One of the philosophies that we follow is that a brand is only going to stick with us if they're going to constantly keep succeeding. If they are where they are last year, then there's no reason for them to continue with us this year. So those are some of the philosophies that we had, and that's a little bit about our entrepreneurial journey from Shebang to where we are today.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And I can completely relate with just having different, a bunch of different agencies, kind of like, getting them all together and kind of like managing. When I was with Growfirst for about a couple of years, I was looking at their digital marketing end to end. And that was like one of the classic things. And I can see Ankur is laughing on probably on the WebEngage thing, because we did kind of like work with WebEngage back then. And one of the biggest challenges that we had was just kind of like pooling together your creative agency, your digital agency, your kind of media buying and selling agency, and just getting them all to kind of work for this one single vision, which at that point was like, growing orders and all. So yeah, thanks a lot. Anything you want to share, like Ankur and Shay?
Well, I'm not exactly the founder of WebEngage, but I was one of the early customers on the other side of the table. So that's where the problem statement of dealing with multiple things at the same time is a very relatable one. So where WebEngage started was in fact 10 years ago, one of the very, very early SaaS plays. Back in India, at that time, SaaS was not even a buzzword. MarTech is even more recent, right? So that way, these guys started out with building this little pop-up notification tool, which anybody could set up their website to start capturing email addresses. That was a big thing then. So as Jabong and as at Food Panda, I was a fairly large customer to WebEngage, and we would be in frequent touch on how they're really evolving the space. At some point, they also realized this whole problem statement of dealing with multiple channels individually, like you're saying, multiple agencies. Now, within that, if you just talk about customer communication, you have emails to send, SMSs to send, maybe push notifications to send, web notifications to send. So typically, most people, when they start out on their customer communication journey, start with point solutions. And that's where it gets messy after the point. The data is not even consolidated. So your email is saying something, but your SMS is saying something else, which is a problem. So that's kind of where the product evolved from a website pop-up tool to a multi-channel campaign orchestration system. And it's been a very interesting journey for these guys. They've now raised scale to a level of 100 crore revenues. And this is a very interesting India to the world SaaS play, which has now become much hotter. So what you can credit these guys for is the fact that they started out very early and they've pivoted and survived and been resilient as entrepreneurs in that whole space. So yeah, it's an interesting journey.
Great to hear.
Yeah, the journey for me has been a bit similar to what I think Sohail's journey has been, right? So, I started my journey with a digital marketing firm. I was managing both tech as well as their business development and operations. It was a mix of things. It was a startup itself. I was the third or fourth employee there. Managed a lot of communities. So community play was big at that time, I think 2010, 2014 around, right? And that's where I wanted to start off something in gaming. So started off with the gaming community, wanted to test waters with let's say a Facebook page, because that was the most, I would say the easiest to start off. When that started off, a lot of publishers reached out. So for me, the fun thing was that I was getting a lot of games which were free to play. Yeah. So I was like, okay, if that's something which is coming in, then that's cool. And it was getting in with some revenues. And, we started our journey with a few brands like NVIDIA and all. We helped them grow their community, and we were positioned more like a gaming agency for brands, So if there was a gaming brand who wanted to sort of build their community, we were helping them to start with. And in the last 3 years, we've actually, since we come from the gaming background, we were developing games and all. We did a pivot towards developing tech. So be it augmented or virtual reality, or be it games for learning or games for engagement. That's primarily what we do. It's a fun space, something where we also contribute in some or the other way. So that's what we've been doing. And now with the whole chatter around the metaverse, I would say we were already doing that for some folks, in some ways or the other. It's just that, every now and then you see, like old wine in a new bottle, that sort of analogy, right? So that's what it is. But I think for folks, even and participants, and for Sohail and Ankur also, if they've been playing games, metaverse as a concept has been there in games. It's just that, there's just so much chatter because Facebook has rebranded and all of that. Yeah. So that's a very quick nutshell. That's how the journey's been. But it's been fun. challenging, but yeah, that's how it's been.
Also, the metaverse has gotten a lot more immersive, right?
Yes.
What you can do. So it's always been there. You were always playing, buying skins, buying costumes.
Yes.
Games. So that has always been there. It's just now you're in there and
yes. Certainly.
Yeah, I think like something like SimCity is already like the metaverse, right?
Yeah. Second Life was already
Second
there.
Life is probably the first one, the most immersive one.
Came in with a currency and all of that. It's dead now, but these sort of loops have been coming in and going out also. So yeah.
Yeah, I think like the next step will be like and I don't know, maybe Shrey, you can throw some more light on this, like the kind of unification of metaverse with virtual reality. Because with Facebook owning Oculus, like I think that's the next step that they want to take, like just a more immersive kind of experience, which is not on a computer screen, but literally what you see.
I think we've been actually having our own internal discussions around these things also, and we see three very specific paths to this, right? So there's one which is like a sandbox mode, right? What you see with folks like Decentraland, you come into one world like Sims and you contribute to that, like Minecraft or Roblox or Decentraland. So there's one world, you have your single profile, you build and all of that. Then the other one, and another analogy is for folks like, let's say, an Eighth Wall or what Niantic is doing. It's combining the real world with the virtual one. And, you could have a AR glass, you could not have a AR glass, you have a smartphone that works for you, And then you have something in between, that's you can say that's where we maybe come in. So folks like us are creating worlds, or, similar platforms like ours are creating worlds where maybe brands can come in, create their stuff, or these are portal based worlds, smaller, which can run across devices on your smartphone or your desktop. And if you have a VR headset, that's great, because one of the biggest challenges for us was this, the VR headsets have been there. The cost has really come down. I mean, I would say when we started off with all of this, the cost was 80,000 for a VR headset, 1.5 lakh for a PC. You would need someone to really set it up, manage it for the brand, and then the development cost. So all of that went extremely high. So while brands would love to do it, marketing managers would love to do it, they would usually come back and say, yaar, ye bahut mehenga hai, isme change karna bhi bahut time lagta hai, let's skip it, or you'll have like the top tier brands doing it. So that's the big change which we've been working to bring onto the table also, because as soon as the pandemic hit, what we have been contributing, I think this is the general trend also in the industry. There's a lot of web XR, since XR is the umbrella term, there's a lot of web-based augmented and virtual reality happening. Be it, even platforms like Eighth Wall, we have been doing that. There's been similar technologies. Games also are now being run on the web. No, not that it's a new thing. A lot of it has been there. So, you see a lot of things being, packaged and repackaged also. So that's how we see. So we are definitely, with Oculus as such a big investment of Facebook, that would be there, and Facebook would always sort of put in. But I think the value would actually be when your experiences become cross-platform, that's where it will be actual value for brands, otherwise it will be very dependent on the device. And, sometimes it becomes counterintuitive for people who are experiencing it, because they feel a bit of a nausea when they experience, using VR headset. So it's like the 3D glasses analogy, isn't it? That's how it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I can tell you from experience, like just experiencing, I think gaming is one of the big industries that VR is counting on, and just experiencing like a horror game, it is very scary. I think my task was just from going from one end of the tunnel to the other, where there was like a ghostly figure, and it was the scariest 5 minutes of my life. So yeah, it can be very nauseating, and it can be very kind of to each their own kind of experience. But that is kind of like something that we can touch upon in a greater detail, is that we hear a lot of talk about AR and VR and these kind of technologies, but most of this is in the global kind of landscape, right, including immersive content and metaverse. How do we see Indian brands? And I think Shrey, you kind of touched upon this. How do we see Indian brands kind of adapting to it, or are we still like a few months or a few years away from kind of Indian brands and the Indian ecosystem kind of adapting to it? Given that, like, I think H&M just opened their first store on the metaverse,
yes.
right? So how do we see, and this is for everyone, right? Like, how do we see Indian brands and Indian organizations adapting to this new world of AR, VR, and the metaverse?
I think, see, generally brands, like I mentioned to you, the first bit was the barrier to entry, right? The barrier to entry for AR or VR usually was how expensive is it to create, how easy is it to distribute the AR application, right? Till now, I would say before COVID stuck, I mean, we can actually demarcate it like that. Before COVID stuck, there was usually discussions, okay, which device would you develop on? So when we were developing training modules or marketing modules, it would be, which device are you developing on? Or, let's choose Oculus, let's choose HTC, we'll set up stalls and they would experience it, right? That's sort of a thing as a BTL campaign. Or if it was AR, you see Cadbury's doing it. Like, I mean, they've been doing some campaigns around, I think they have those chocolates and all. There's a lot of consumer play which is happening, and which you will see. So in AR, I think that's going to be much quicker. In the metaverse side of things, I think it's slowly hotting up. I would say it's more like currently it's in the hype curve, right? So like everyone wants to do NFT, we get like crazy weird queries around NFTs that let's do NFT today. And we are like, okay, NFT, what do you want out of that NFT campaign is usually the question, right? So I think it's, as you move, you're going to see very quick adoption. I feel really upbeat about the Indian ecosystem because we have the largest ecosystem. It's an English-speaking ecosystem. So anything you do here is applicable across the world. Unlike, China, where you have to, again, it's very specific to that market. Here, we have a huge market. I would say that's one of the opportunities which we have, and I think it's they're actually taking sort of a leap of faith right now. And with someone like Facebook coming in, it sort of eases that out. When someone like Facebook or Google or even Oculus comes into the scheme of things, it helps. How about you, Ankur, Sohail? What do you have to say?
Yeah, I echo. Sorry, go ahead, Ankur, please. Go ahead.
I was just going to say a very standard term around technology adoption, because there'll always be these early adopters who will do something very interesting, and they'll end up trying to make it more mainstream. But in general, like enabling infra around these technologies, the availability of tools with the individuals in terms of the classes as well as the content, it needs sustained investment. And that's where the question would come in, that if the big players are doing those investments, it will happen. So back in 2010 and 11, mobile data was not as big, but now where you see it happening, it's all over the place. So you look at the same situation in the next 5 years, I'm sure the enabling infra is moving much faster. So you will see immersive experiences also become that much more mainstream. So, to experience horror within your living room will become a lot easier for sure.
Yeah.
So sorry, you were saying something.
No, I think Ankur covered one of the main points that I was going to talk about as well. And Shrey, I think you brought up a very good point. I think in my mind that today largely we still don't understand what the metaverse or NFT is, which is where Ankur, like you rightly said, right, there are going to be some people who are going to be early adopters and who are probably going to be sort of brands are going to look up to them saying, hey, I want to do something like these guys. So like Nike's already got into the game. We already saw H&M has already got into the game. Yeah. Most of these brands are international brands. I think in India, we still yet don't understand the whole NFT ecosystem, the whole metaverse ecosystem, and what one can do with it. And I think one of you guys said, if you don't get into this with a longer term play, and if you're going to do it just to be gimmicky or like sort of be relevant at this moment, then you're going to be burning a lot of cash. Because it's an expensive technology as of today to adapt. So as what I see coming is, I think definitely expect a lot more brands to sort of get into this space and start talking and start planning. Because the teams today are still not, their internal teams are still not geared to take care of what the existing marketing collaterals across various channels that are there, and now focus on building a metaverse. So I think if someone's going to put this bet, like as a brand, they're going to put this bet, then they've got to like sort of make it more as a long-term play. In terms of what we can expect to see, I think, you know, I was recently reading and I saw that Gucci came up with an exclusive collection. You're going to have exclusive clubs where only probably NFT holders of that particular brand are going to have access to, let's say, an immersive ecosystem when you get in there. I'm also seeing that, you know, while people are touching upon the whole visual experience, you have haptic that's working towards, even in that immersive visual experience, you can actually touch. You can actually touch and feel, and you have a couple of other players that are actually working on your nose senses as well. So perfume brands can also sort of get into this. Apart from just having like a fancy event, you could actually get into an immersive world where you're experiencing the smell of the in the metaverse.
Great. This is like more and more sounding like a Black Mirror episode. So I hope it is much more fun. Right. Maybe it'll be great for you know, the students and like all of us to kind of hear from you. What are some of your favorite campaigns? So I know you spoke about Berok Zindagi, so maybe, you know, you can talk more about this. And also from Ankur and Shiv, what have been some of your favorite kind of campaigns which have leveraged MarTech very well to kind of either deliver the brand value or to drive the objective that they wanted to?
Go ahead, guys. First, I'll take the last. No, I'll take this one last.
Honestly, for me, if you ask me what happened last year, I'd say the Cadbury campaign by Ogilvy, which was the one with the local stores that they did, that was brilliant as a campaign using MarTech solutions, right? It sort of touched upon locally with people. It engaged and helped local businesses at the same time, and it helped create videos at scale. That's exactly what MarTech is. MarTech is supposed to actually improve efficiency and create what do you say, agility in your marketing journey. It's supposed to actually help make things faster. So if you ask me, that's a campaign that I really loved and would I mean, it's something that I look up to.
Yep, I saw a campaign with I think with Pizza Hut. They actually partnered with Pac-Man and Bandai Namco actually.
Yeah.
And they I think what they did in a quick way was that they leveraged nostalgia. They leveraged the fun of pizzas and Pac-Man into this one concept, and you know, they were sort of dishing out those pizza book covers, pizza covers or pizza boxes with the Pac-Man board, and you could sort of point out, and you know, you could play a quick game and sort of. I think what that does for a lot of brands as well is give them a lot of recall value and reference points also to get started with AR and those sort of things. So it was great for us, because then we also got a lot of queries in a similar shape and league of things. What worked well for us, I would say, in the last one of the campaigns which we did was we partnered with De Beers, because we ourselves had not thought about it. So when we executed that, it was fun. So we actually created a full expo zone for De Beers, and we powered that as a virtual expo. So unlike a 2D powered expo where, you know, those are like video loops, we created a whole expo environment like a gaming world, and you could actually move around. So that's and you know, we could actually scale it up to that concurrency level of 10,000 concurrent users, people sort of moving around. I think that's the initial days of I think what a metaverse or a branded you can say immersive experience may look like. Yeah.
Awesome. So, well, the part that I probably would mention is very different from what's been mentioned elsewhere, because to us in our world of technology and data, the marketing has changed entirely. You cannot put one message on television and expect this to resonate with millions of people. Now, I'm sure both of these Sohail and Shreyas companies are also working on some of these elements, but what we see happening very meaningfully, like the video that Sohail just mentioned about, where there's a personalization angle to it. There's a artificial intelligence system done by a company, in fact, from my alma mater. which is doing that piece. Now imagine that level of personalization to be available across every user experience. So it's not exactly a campaign because what you care about is very different from what I care about. But when you get a message from a brand, it resonates with you very well. The fact is, we have 154 participants. Almost all of you have your screens off. Half of you probably are two-timing this conversation with something else. That's a fact of life. So if I need to get your attention, I have to say something which is alarming, something which is really relevant for you. Yeah. So that's where personalization becomes very powerful, and that's where MarTech has to play.
Yeah, and I also concur with that. Like just getting that attention with one notification where the person is probably, and again, the notification has to be timed as well so that it doesn't kind of syncs down with a bunch of other notification, and ensuring that the one line is relevant to you, right? And I know like how big of a deal was when marketing automation could let you include name of the person, right? That was such a game changer that it can talk to you, right? Like it's almost like, hey, Sumit, you have something left in your card. So yeah, totally
It's gone
resonate
really
with
far
it.
now, Sumit. So of course the journey
Yeah, I
started with the
know.
first name, but now it's like next level.
It's less personalize your entire web.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. I think this group would also, would love to understand that what are some of the biggest roadblocks or challenges that that the budding entrepreneurs or you have faced in this industry or can expect to face, right? Given the entire ecosystem, given the challenges around privacy and data mining, where data is such a crucial part of MarTech as as what it intends to do, right? So, what are some of the biggest roadblocks or challenges that you have faced or budding entrepreneurs could probably expect to face in this industry? And maybe it'll be great if we can also touch upon how do we identify skill sets for aspiring entrepreneurs in this space?
So let me take that as the first one. You had two questions. One was the biggest roadblocks. So, Sumit, I noticed you work with both Facebook and Google. In the last 15 years, advertising on these platforms has become a lot more mainstream. So if you just look at the number of people who are familiar with how to do a good job on Facebook or Google, of course, it's not infinite, but still a fairly well-established skill set. When you look at the other elements of MarTech, now Metaverse and NFTs are still way more advanced. You'll probably have like a 0.001% bunch of people who understand this subject. We're talking about much more mainstream stuff. We've been talking about retention marketing for almost 5 years now. And it's not like we have insane number of people who understand this subject well enough. So as a first step, the availability of talented people to actually translate your vision into reality, the kind of campaigns you're talking about beyond personalization, if you have to execute as a small brand owner, it's not so simple to find those people. And hence, in fact, from our side, we're pretty much building an entire academy to accelerate that supply of talent, right? That's one. Second, from a founder perspective, I think it would be very relevant for you to build skill sets around zooming into the precise problem statements that you care about. Because what seems to be happening is the world has become a single market. You can, sitting in India, perfectly jolly well build world business. You could have a SaaS company based out of India, which is selling to everyone internationally. As long as you've zoomed into a very sharp problem statement, it has a market. We've seen so many of these little Shopify plugins, which are just doing nothing much, but probably just an abandoned cart reminder on WhatsApp. That's all. Shopify abandoned cart reminder on WhatsApp. Can you imagine it runs into millions of dollars of annual revenue because there's just millions of Shopify stores who are okay to pay $5 a month, right? So that's where the opportunities are quite a few. As long as you can zoom in, understand that space and translate that into a solution, you have an opportunity as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I concur with you, Ankur. Actually, a very good point brought up on the availability of talent, because today most of the digital marketers want to get onto the Instagram and Facebook, and like trying to get them to be a bit more on. The thing about MarTech is that you got to be great with content, and you got to pair it up with technology. So if you understand content, if you understand consumers, then it's a great space to be in. And I think we have abundance of talent of it. Just eyes are not open enough to what MarTech can actually do for themselves and for their customers. So I absolutely agree with that point. I think the other challenge is that, and I'll talk about this more from an agency and some of our people who are selling MarTech tools, is that when someone tries to adopt a MarTech tool, they try to go for the best tool and they try to implement the entire thing at one go. Especially when they're just starting off the journey, right? So I think that is someone who is getting into this space, it can be overwhelming with the number of tools that are actually there and what you can do. But I think if they can sort of understand and like focus down on saying, okay, this is the first problem that I want to solve, and this is one tool that's going to solve for it. As next step, let me keep scaling and let me working with probably various tools, or over a period of time, let me adopt someone like a WebEngage that can do everything for me, that can do my web personalization for me, that can send the SMSs or the WhatsApp. So for me, it's, I think, Ankur, one of the points that you said, I think the adoption and the ability to convince someone saying, hey, let's not go with everything at one go, because someone then says, okay, this is so expensive now over 3 months, this is not giving me any return on my investment at all. Like I'm spending 75,000, 80,000 bucks on a tool, but mere ko utna revenue nahi aa raha hai. So I think it's sort of, people got to understand there's got to be a staggered approach of building out this tech stack. It cannot happen overnight.
What we call in our parlance is crawl, walk, and run. Don't try to run on day.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Certainly, I agree as well. I mean, a lot of times we ourselves try and educate our customers that, you know, you can't have everything on day one. So generally, you know, we ourselves recommend them a very staggered approach for immersive tech as well, because, you know, you would look at a Disney, but you can't have something like the IP of a Disney on day one, right? I mean, it takes years and years to build that. I think major challenges for us are very similar as well, as Ankur, you mentioned. A lot of it is fairly new. There's a lot of, you can say, jargons also flying around, but the basics remain the same. You know, it's development, it's game tech. So yes, it would mean a lot of development resources. That's what we've been sort of grappling with as well, with so much money flying around in the market. So that's a thing. But I would say it's mostly how passionate are the individuals who are getting started with building that core team and then taking that forward. One major thing has been around privacy and security around what data we have on the platform, because while at one end it's a very fantastic rosy picture that people are spending time on the platform and all of that, but as soon as let's say they're spending more time and they're engaged on the platform, then comes the privacy and security as well. So those are, I think, two big challenges which we have been also working on.
I just want to add to this that I think today also, as it's job of us as marketers, that, you know, as while there's a MarTech tool that's doing all the outbound stuff, it's our job also to sort of help the brands collect more data and guide them in terms of what they can do with that data or how to leverage that data better. And if you're in the digital marketing space, I think that's your responsibility. I believe that that's a responsibility to your customer, that you keep using these tools to keep gathering more data, and what ways you do it. You've got MarTech tools, you've got stuff to automate flows. So if you want to run a survey and then at the end of the survey, you want to automate and give them a 10% off, go ahead and do that. But gather more data, because that's what will help build a better customer relationship. So I think that's also one of the challenges that I'm seeing right now, is that minds are not thinking that way, saying, okay, you know, let me sit and gather more data. I've got 10, 20, 30, 40,000 customers. I got their email ID and phone number, but now I don't know their age. I don't know their date of birth. I don't know. So the next step is now to sort of, once you've got them in the funnel, next step is now to nurture those guys and get more information about them, so that you can be a bit more personal, so that you can build a better, more meaningful relationship with your customer.
You know, to that, just today morning, I was on Amazon homepage, and one of the sections it just introduces the equivalent of maybe Tinder. You swipe left, swipe right. So basis your swipe, they'll actually churn out the next bunch of recommendations. In that process, you've discovered a whole bunch of my preferences. So you can utilize them not just in this session, but subsequently. But which I believe is an amazing thing to do for any brand. You know, whatever immersive way you can get people to engage with content in a way that's actually showing their preferences, it's great. Yeah. And you know, while people are not collecting enough data, that in our unfortunate reality, they're not even leveraging all that they have. Yeah. When somebody is going to a website, spending 10 minutes before a checkout, vis-a-vis spending 30 seconds before a checkout, that's a useful piece of information. You know, a lot of it could be translated into very interesting communications, but we don't see that enough yet. We're still waiting that people will wake up to it and people will learn to use it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, just adding on to your point, one of the things that we're doing with the B2B brand is so with this brand, we've over the last 3 years, we've evolved the MarTech stack extensively. So they earlier had only Marketo. We've now got on Drift Chat, which allowed a lot more personalization along with Marketo integration. Mid last year, we adopted Clearbit, which is an IP reveal, which allows you to understand a lot more about the customers coming in. So we've now taken Salesforce, we've taken Clearbit, we've taken Marketo, we've taken Drift Chat. We've got all these ecosystems talking to each other. So the minute a customer comes onto the website, we're getting to know if he or she has not filled a form, then we're getting to know what company they're coming from, what region they're coming from, what is the size of the company, what do they specifically deal in. And based on this, using VWO, we're able to use personalization at the front end. So let's say if someone from a Mercedes comes onto the website, I'm able to then cater more automobile related content. I'm then sort of being able to track the journey and see what kind of white papers they're reading. So this information goes back to the Salesforce and the sales team to say, hey, this customer has checked out, or if they filled out a white resource form, then we're going to sending this information back to the sales team saying this customer has checked out A, B, C, D, E, F, G white papers. That means this customer is interested in this particular product line. So that just makes the whole marketing and sales departments talk to each other more relevant.
As a company, I'm doing exactly that because we're a B2B company, so we do that for our business. On the consumer side is where we do very similar stuff, but it's not as much sales and marketing. It's all just marketing because that's what B2C companies have to do. So a MyGlam, for instance, would be doing something similar with respect to looking at their inbound traffic, looking at where the people are clicking, what they're spending time on, and then correspondingly creating the communications.
Yeah. Analytics plays a big role. I mean, got to keep being on top of their analytics and understanding consumer behavior.
Sure. So given that this audience here is a bunch of students and probably looking to make either entrepreneurial opportunities or careers in the MarTech space, it's a very interesting world if you're up for data, because that's the starting point of everything now. So if you're prepared to spend a lot of time from data and then translating that into stories, it's a great space to be in.
Yeah, I completely concur to it. Especially, where you mentioned that you first have to run to walk and then run. There've been so many I've been part of so many discussions where we have to get everything done in the first month. If we purchased a tool or if we have to get this much done, get everything done in the first month possible. And it's been countless discussions to kind of just walk through steps. First we do this, then we can do this. And because it's not going to be, and I think which is where it gets very overwhelming, which is I think something all of you touched upon. To kind of just learn to pace yourself and know that it's not a 1 month thing that will explode, because everyone wants to see quick returns. That, if I've invested this, why don't I see 1,000% return in the first month? So yeah, and even the Amazon ads. So Amazon ads are probably the biggest competitor for the Google Shopping ads and no one else, right? Just because of the data that Amazon is able to gather. Right from your shopping behavior to kind of the swipe behavior that they've now introduced, they are a very big player in terms of shopping ads, because more and more people directly go to Amazon and then search for what they shop.
What they want to shop 70% for. Now. Product searches originating on Amazon is 70%.
Yeah, it's massive, right? I know we're at time, but I would probably just ask one last question. Given that we've spoken about entrepreneurship journey and we have so many of our bright students, it would be great. We all understand that Shark Tank has been launched in India. So I would love to hear from the panel that if you were the judges or the sharks on Shark Tank, what kind of ideas would fascinate you that you could invest in? And students, please listen to this. Even I am. So you can decide your pitch for Shark Tank, right? So what are some of the kind of ideas that would get you excited in this industry, in this space, something that you could bet your money on?
Interesting question. That's got me thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
So I tell you what, I've been working either at a service company or been building a service agency for the last 7 years. And I've just started off building a product company now. So that's sort of another second venture that we're doing. And the one thing that I keep in mind, I don't know what Shark Tank is looking for, but I can tell you how I would approach a product is I think anything that can add value to your customer's life, anything that can enhance customer life is something, I think something worth spending time on and worth building on. So if you look at some of the biggest apps that are there, or the unicorns that are there right now, Uber there was always a Meru cab or a cool cab which you could call up and actually come to you. Uber and Ola actually made it big because they made it convenient. They focused on customer experience. They focused on easing a customer's life and adding value to a customer's life, where I don't need to call up someone. I don't need to know where he is and ask him kidhar ho tum. Directly sort of book it on the app. I can track and see when that person's coming in. I could always book airline tickets, right? I could always call up an agent and book an airline ticket. Just make my trip and booking.com made it a lot more simpler and cutting down the middleman, making it more convenient and accessible for customers. So I think if you're working on an idea, think about something that can actually add value to a customer's life over a period of time, and something that can integrate well and enhance their living.
Sure. So I have a slightly different take to it. Given that off late you see unicorns all over the place, that's what the new heroes sound like. I believe India is such a large market. You have so many niches and so many opportunities for a perfectly healthy, profitable 100 crore business, which is where I tend to be a little worried when everybody wants to make a unicorn, because it's a risk and reward play. If you want to take that kind of attempt, then you have to take that kind of risk. And the fact is 90% and 95% of those attempts will end up in failure. That's the reality of it. So if you redo your odds, I'm sure Sohail and Shreya are running perfectly legit, perfectly profitable and sensible and interesting growth companies, which are not necessarily unicorns, but they are great businesses to be running.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if people should be as obsessed with the whole idea of unicorns as the current media seems to be. So that's just my 2 cents on this equation.
So I agree with Ankur on this. I mean, let's say at one side of things, I think what's extremely important is that, like, I remember I read a book called Rework. I was getting my engineering done, and
it's a good read. Everyone should.
It's a fantastic read, and what it talks about is you could be running a bakery, and if it's profitable and you are happy about it, that's okay. It's not that you're out there for the media to be a unicorn. That's one part of it. The other part of it is, let's say if you were, let's say, part of Shark Tank, and what would you choose? I'm very passionate about food. I'm a foodie. So if there were some interesting food ideas, why not? Like, I was just discussing with my co-founder yesterday that what if there was, I know there are, but let's say, what if we founded something like Samosa Central or something? It's just, doing some fun stuff in the evening, and you're like, what if there was Samosa Central, and, you could have different kinds of samosas, and, we were just having fun. I think if it's fun, if the founders themselves are a passionate bunch, of course, the business basics and all of those would any which ways be vetted and reviewed, right? So if that's there, if they're doing that one thing for the whole, because, one of the major things which happens is we've also struggled with is dabbling between multiple things or multiple hats, If the founding team is doing one bit, doing it full time, that's something which definitely, helps. So yeah, I think a couple of these things, no secret ingredient actually.
Yeah, I don't know if I indicated that, be obsessed with the unicorns, but I think it's important to find your why you're doing it.
Yeah.
And I'm reading this book, I'm currently reading Simon Sinek's Infinite Games. And I think it's important, if you find your why, if the minute you know why you're doing something, exactly, it becomes a lot easier to convince anyone else to sort of get on board and take the journey with you. So if you're going to Shark Tank, find your why you're doing it, and then
what's getting funded now is going to go through a bit of a winter in, let's say, a year or probably 2 from now. So don't use that as a metric of why you should be attempting something because it's a hot space.
Yeah. I think a lot of times we are kind of daunted by just the numbers, that we have to achieve this number, or the company should be this number. And I think something you touched upon, which was amazing, is like the why of it. And if you believe in something, like everything else, and if you're having fun in doing this, and if it's a growth fueled business, it's irrespective. If the business is doing well, you're happy, it's good business to be a part of. Yeah. Being a unicorn or not being a unicorn is like part of the journey, right? So yeah, like very helpful, and thank you all for sharing your wonderful thoughts, which I'm sure are very valuable to the team here. I'm like very sure, like I've learned a lot just in the last 60 minutes. And over to you, Tripti ma'am, and we can open the floor up for questions.
Thank you so much, all of you. Special thanks. And yeah, some of the points that you all mentioned, that we've been talking about metaverse, NFT, and all these used jargons and all that without really understanding the depth of it. But I think quite a lot of learning today, and the campaigns which you all have mentioned today were really an eye-opener. And we will be definitely very happy to take some case studies from you guys and present it in our classroom as well. And what I liked about Ankur's delivery was the concept of two timing. Yes, we often do this, and we've been doing this since the time COVID came in. And of course, Samosa Central is an amazing way to put it across here. Thank you very much. Thank you, all of you. And over to you, Azbana and Siddhan, for the question and answer round. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, dear panelists, for sparing your valuable time and teaching us new things every time we've heard you all say something. I would now like to call upon Inder Raj Singh, because he has a question for some of you.
Good morning, panelists. My question is for Sohil, sir. We have seen companies like H&M and Zara are introducing a virtual store with metaverse. Will the new age customer enjoy purchasing based on the metaverse experience?
I think it's honestly, it's too early for me to answer something like this. It's just right now. I think like Shrey mentioned, right now we're at a adoption stage, or we're at a stage
like at the hype curve.
We're at the hype curve. We're at the hype curve right now. So I'm sure there'll be crazy loyal fans of H&M or a Gucci or a Nike who will definitely enjoy doing it. But honestly, it's too soon for me to sort of give you an answer on this.
So, Inder, one of the bits which I have seen in my journey is that, you know, a lot of times, let's say when you put in the shoes of, let's say you are the customer, right? And you might think, you know, why should I come to a 3D world to see a Gucci store? I mean, just does not make sense, right? At the same time, there are kids, let's say, you know, there could be teenagers or let's say 10 or 12-year-old, who's actually spending more time on a Roblox than, you know, time on Zoom, you know? So that's how the usage patterns are also changing, isn't it? I mean, you could be using Instagram, but there could be a lot of users for, you know, platforms like Snapchat, right? So that's the mix of things. So it's like, it's a curve, right? Sometimes it takes time for people to sort of, you know, get into that whole adoption as well.
Besides, 5 years ago, you weren't sure you wanted to buy fashion online. Now you are.
Exactly.
So, Shrey, you mentioned about kids. I was talking to someone the other day, and they mentioned that nowadays kids are asking, instead of birthday gifts, or they're getting birthday gifts as like either NFTs or
yes.
NFTs.
I have my neighbor. He asked me for some game skins. I was like, okay. So
yeah, to answer your question, like it's again, I'm sorry, I'm not being able to give you a direct answer to this. It's still too early as an adoption, but there are, as this technology grows, and as the growing sort of, I mean, the kids of today, they're going to be growing into this world. So there will be adoption happening. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all for that. Was really amazing.
Thanks, Inder.
The next question is from Sudeep Kwas. Sudeep, please turn on your camera.
Yeah, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So my question is for Ankush, sir. So it is like, is it possible, sir, that in the coming years, the outbound marketing would vanish as everything is moving towards the digital era, and it is more like everything is more engaged in it? So is it possible that in the coming years, outbound marketing would vanish?
Not vanishing anywhere. It's always going to be a combination of things. So yeah, nothing is vanishing, if that's your direct answer. It'll have its space, you know. So when you have a pie of 100 odd units that you're spending as a brand, you will have allocations, and the allocation will keep increasing. And a very generic overarching brand theme might shrink in terms of the budget allocated to it, but it's not disappearing because consumers will always relate to brands and stories more than anything else that they will ever will.
Also, digital marketing is a channel is one of the ways you're doing your outbound marketing. So digital is not going to stop the outbound marketing.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
The next question is from Vibhuti Shankar.
Yeah. A very good morning to all the panelists and everyone on board. My question is for Mr. Sri. So my question is, ascertaining to the future in a digital era, what are the current and upcoming tools organizations are implementing to ascertain better the human perception? And adding up to that, how does it help them to market a product on various platforms? Could you please tell about that, sir?
I don't think I'm someone who can answer this well. I think Sohail or Ankur are the better folks to answer this, Vibhuti. But I mean, I would say from my perspective, from what my skill set has been, I mean, we usually use immersive platforms and tools to enhance the experience, and then of course we use a given set of existing tools and we plug those in, into their funnels and pipes. So usually we create the experience layer and then all the other engagement, data capture, and that going into the analytics goes into those systems. But I think Sohail or Ankur, I think you guys can address this much better than what I can.
I don't want to make a sales pitch for WebEngage, but essentially as a company, you would need to put together is a mechanism to organize all of your data, to engage with customers across different channels, whether it's email or WhatsApp or whatever, to analyze and segment all of this data, the base that you've prepared, and finally to personalize the communication. So between these 3 or 4 different pieces of the stack is where your marketing, the customer marketing part of it is solved. I'm not even talking about acquisition marketing because that's a whole new world in itself, and maybe Sohail can add in that side.
No, I think you touched upon the relevant question. I don't think I'd do justice to adding more.
Does that answer for you, Vibhuti?
Yes, sir. Completely. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thanks.
Next, we have Srijit Nair.
Hello all. I have a question for Mr. Sohail. So on your LinkedIn wall, you have written about helping clients and organizations build better customer experience through use of technology. So I would like to ask you, what according to you should be the main aim or focus when looking at the customer experience and that can truly make an impact?
I think there are multiple factors as they interact with you across omni-channel. I asked a question to bunch of my friends and who I've been talking to on our office group, saying, what are we doing to build meaningful relationships with our customers? Because we're so often just stuck with sending transactional or sales-based or offer-based communication, which led to my next question to them saying, okay, do you prefer being spoken to by a brand after a purchase is done? You'd be surprised to know that 70% of them, out of 200 people that answered, 70% said, no, I don't prefer being interacted by a brand after I've done the purchase. And reason being because they keep still trying to send advertisements to me, or they still keep trying to sell me something that I've already purchased. So I think one of the change in mindset we've got to do is we've got to we've got to look at MarTech while there is the whole acquiring side of it, and you can integrate these MarTech stacks with your ad tech tools as well, and get both of them to talk to each other. I think the role of marketing is to create retention and to build better relationships with the customer. So I think having more relevant content based on maybe certain purchases that they have, based on maybe certain sections of the website they've interacted with you, or sections of the application they've interacted with you, and talking to them one-to-one. I think that for me is one of the key factors of building a successful MarTech stack or utilizing it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for providing such
I'd love for Ankur to answer this as well.
Well, I think I was just going to use a very simple analogy. If you're in an aircraft, you're traveling from Delhi to Mumbai, and on your left side there's Alia Bhatt, and on your right side there's Amitabh Bachchan. you will say different things to different people, right? You will not say the same 5 sentences or 10 sentences to both of them. So it's very simple to us as humans. We talk personalized. So why do brands not do that very well? Because it's just a matter of a little bit more time, a little bit more attention, a little bit more practice. So that's where it is. It's going to get there.
Thank you, sir, for providing such an interesting insight in customer experience, and also to everyone in the panel for giving such an exciting session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much, dear panelists, for handling all these interesting questions so patiently. And with that, we come to an end to this interesting hour on MarTech. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your valuable time and experience with all of us here at SIDTM.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Same here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
You too.
Thank
Bye.
you so much, all of you. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
And now for the vote of thanks, I'd like to call upon the Chief of the Entrepreneurship Cell, Mr. Arnav Gupta.
Thank you, Siddhant. To all esteemed speakers and guests, management, respected faculty, and all my beloved friends, and a warm and very lovely greetings to all of you. As we approach to the closing of magnificent year of Virtual Entrepreneurship Series 2021, I would like to take this opportunity to thank each and everyone who supported us throughout this wonderful journey. Firstly, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to all our esteemed speakers of today, Mr. Rajesh Jain, Mr. Sohil Karia, Mr. Ankur Gattani, Mr. Shay Mishra, and Mr. Sumit Verma, and all the speakers of our previous episodes who graced our event and shared their wonderful insights and amazing experiences. I am highly obliged to thank our director, sir, and our deputy director, sir, who gave us this wonderful platform for conducting Virtual Entrepreneurship Series for the first time. Without their competent leadership and support of all our esteemed college faculties, it would never have been possible. I would like to thank our mentor and our captain, Starship Captain, Dr. Tripti Dhote, 1,000 times for always being our shadow and for always motivating and guiding us at every step of the ladder. She had full faith on us throughout, and we felt more confident because of that. I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the lab team, Rahul sir, Pankaj sir, Sagar sir. Without them, it would not have been possible to execute this event with such perfection. And also a sincere token of gratitude to Vidula ma'am, Kavita ma'am, Agnes ma'am, Madhura ma'am, and our coordinators, Rekha ma'am, Renuka ma'am, and Srinivas sir, who helped us curate and coordinate this great event. I sincerely appreciate and thank Brandcom and Web and Tech committees for their constant support in helping us bring the event to its height with their creativity and hard work. Without them, we wouldn't have attained the reach we were able to. I'm also so grateful for the continuous efforts of our wonderful MOCs for engaging the audience today and all the hours of practice they put in. Sincere thanks to all the attendees for their active participation and for their constant support to carry out this event. Now, I would like to thank the wonderfully talented organizing team I was gifted with, the senior team, Rajsi, Siddharth, Rishabh, Maurya, Sairupa, Sumukh, and Swat. Without your constant help and guidance to the junior team, this would not have been possible. And now I save my last thanks for the best, my junior team, Abhilasha, Princeton, Shivam, Shreya, Karthik, Arulmoy, Apurva, Dharini, Sukriti, Adarsh, Ronak, and Vinayak. A group of incredibly talented ad hocs who handle everything so perfectly. Kudos for making the event a great success, and I'm super proud of all of you. We thank you for being with us. It has remained a pronounced pleasure to be host the Virtual Entrepreneurship Series. And with this, we will conclude the final episode. We'll conclude the final episode of the Entrepreneurship Series 2021. Thank you a lot. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone. It was indeed a great session, I believe. And with this, we end the E-Series 5th episode. Thank you, professors, director, sir, for being here and part of this. And batch, you may disperse now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a lovely day.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.